Hello, this is Zoltán with ARCHLine here. We are constantly working to give you the tools and knowledge to make the design and documentation process faster and more accurate. Let's see a few examples. Show a portion of your design at a larger scale using the callout. Add any further details you want. Print queue automatically assembles all your layouts. Just click Publish and you're good to go. Use schedules with images. Manage your drawing content directly from your schedule and vice versa. Schedules can also be exported into Excel. Even if your models are complex, your sections will be done in seconds. Shadows and textures on sections create a much cleaner visual. Create wall views with furniture and dimensions in an instant. Wall views are automatically titled and linked to the room and wall where they belong. Use 2D fields and drawing order to control the appearance of overlapping objects. Communicate BIM information in a standardized format using the IFC classifications. Link IFC, PDF, DWG and RBT files with your project to visualize external content for coordination purposes. The files automatically update when you open the project, but of course you can update them manually as well. Create unique 3D solids using the PushPull command. Just draw the contour and extrude the shape that you need. Create customized foundations using any 2D section profile. Use the project templates to specify the starting environment of your design. The project template contains the default units of measurement, styles, layers, floors, building structure, and so on. Create walls already equipped with tiling. Tiling layouts will always update when you insert or remove a door or a window. Use rule-based filters to display, select, graphically highlight or even isolate parts of your design. Visit our website for the full list of features and don't forget to download your free trial today.
Hello and welcome to today's session, which is about the ARCHLine.XP 2021 new features. Those are the new features that we couldn't include in the first half because we have so many, and I'm excited to start talking about the project templates first, which is a very useful tool if you would like to create your own work environment with your own layers, with your own styles, and also this is something that you can share with your colleagues if you would like to. I'm going to talk about also the PushPull tool, which is a very good tool when you would like to create complex objects, or even if you would like to change the shape of a wall, for example, and doing that, the wall will be kept as a wall. I mean, when you change the properties of a wall, it will behave as expected. Also, I'm going to talk about the external references, how you can include IFC, DWG, RVT or PDF files into your project from third parties, and if the third party changes, the other designer changes that project in shape or in content, you can also update that inside your own project. I'm going to talk about walls with automated tiling. I mean, when you create a wall, it will automatically feature a custom layout of tiling that you create on your own, and also if you move a door or a window inside that wall or change the shape of that, the tiling will be able to reflect those changes automatically. LOG or level of geometry is a useful term for those who would like to represent their model in schematic or in detailed representation, or perhaps for documentation, and also if you would like to export your model for any purpose using any of those level of geometry details, then you can do that as well. Quick sections and elevations can contain textures and also shadows on these contents, and if you created something along an architectural grid, those grid lines can also be represented on your elevations and your sections as well. And finally, I'm going to talk about the rule-based filters, how you can use them to control visibility or invisibility of items in your 3D space or in 2D, and also how you can use it for graphic override or also for selection. And this is not everything. We have something more. Do you want to know what this device is? Or even better, this one? Then come with me and I'm going to show you how this works and how it is connected to ARCHLine.XP. And also in the end, I will show you what's inside this tiny box. And as always, should you have any questions, please just ask in the chat and also in the comment section, and we are more than happy to answer your questions. Also, if you like this content, please give us a thumbs up, and if you didn't do so yet, please subscribe to our channel. So we have a lot to cover today. Let's see what we have. When you start a new project in ARCHLine, then you have two options to create that project. The one is that when you go with the default settings, that is the new project option. And there is another option where you can actually use ready-made templates or templates that you created for yourself. Now let's see how that looks like, and then I will explain what a template contains and what's the difference between a regular new project and a template. So now once you click here, the new project from template, you will land in the project templates folder, which is by default installed on your computer in the documents folder. And you will see a few of those default templates that we ship with the software, or you can see the templates that you have created for yourself. Now in this folder, now I only have my own, I don't have anything default. The one that you can see on the top two with the German standards when I'm working together with the German office, and there is one when I'm doing the interior design and survey, and there is one for the Norwegian standard when I'm cooperating with the Norwegian architect colleague. So let's see a very first example. That will be the German architectural office standard, which I've created. I will show you how you can open it. It's very simple. The software actually loads that, and then you will see that there is an option to list the content of this this template. I will skip that for now because I will explain what I have imported. So now I have created a new project with a few specific things that I have designed earlier, and I will show you also how to do that. Now the first thing is that I have created a specific level structure. So what I did, I just opened an empty project, and then I went to the floor definition, and I've created all the floors with all the heights and bottom elevations and everything that I think I will use most of the time when I'm working together with that specific office. So this is what I've prepared, and then I saved it into the template file, which is actually here in the file export and project template. I will use that in a moment, but let's see what else I've got with this template. Now with the template, I actually have not just the floors themselves, the level system, but I also have my custom layers. Now what you see here is all the German layers that I used together with my colleague. And these are all the layers that I have saved, and I cleared out everything else that I don't need. So there's nothing extra that I won't need together with this office. I removed all the defaults that I didn't need, and I just cleared it up completely to have only the layers that I will use. The software even remembers which I determined to be the default active layer. So this is why I have this group layer active here somewhere at the bottom here. And this is why I have so many layers with German titles, because this is how I saved it. So that's it. The layers are saved, the layer list is saved. The layer statuses are saved into the template file when you save it, and also the floors themselves. Also the same true for the walls and all the door, window and everything here. When you create certain German or any other standard for yourself, like in the styles, then that will be stored here. Let me just show you an example to that. So I'm gonna open up the properties here, and you will see that once the dialog opens, you can see that I actually have a few of those styles, but all are in the German folders and all are German standards. So this is how I cleared it up, and whatever I saved here in my specific project, and I saved the template itself, all those the styles of the doors, windows, columns, beams, slabs, and any other item that supports styles are saved into my template. So it's a great time saver. I don't need to import templates from, styles from other projects or something like that. What I do is just make sure that I have all the styles, all the layers, and all the floors active that I wanted to use in my future projects. And instead of simply saving the project, which I actually of course did with the software, with the project, I just came here and I exported, saved the project template, which then I can use for future projects. It will give me a nice clear playground to work with. So using my templates, I can create a complex design, either a smaller building or a tall one, residential or any other type of buildings. As you can see, I kept my floors unchanged. I perhaps added a few layers later because I realized that I will need a few others, but basically I have the same layer system here that I've created with the template. And later with that, I have created all the sections, views, and floor plans, and several other drawings that I needed. Now, also I've worked with those specific walls that I have saved into the styles, and I created them using the template content with the styles. So this is how this was created, with specific line types and hatchings inside and so on. So this project was created based on those rules and based on those styles. And also, if anything changes with this template, like I realized that during my work I used another style that I think I will use frequently in the future, all I need to do is, besides saving of course the project, because I will also need the project itself for the purposes of my future works, all I need is to go here and export the project template as well. So the project template won't contain the drawings, the project template will contain the styles, the floors, the layers, and my plot layouts. And let's see a few other examples. As I told you, I have a few other templates created on my computer. So let's see what, for example, the interior design and survey template looks like. So when I open that, you will see that I have a completely different floor system here, a little bit smaller, because usually when I'm working with interiors, it's just a few floors, perhaps many times it's only one floor. And also I have a quite different layer system here, focusing on the interior and on dimensions and any other things. These are all created for the purposes for my interior design projects. And well, for example, again, if I would like to, I can add a default several pages of plot layouts as well. I can resave it if I want, but basically this is how I can create an interior design. So using that template here, I actually focused on a very small project with a kitchen and a living room. That was the goal. This is what I wanted to create here. And as you can see, there is the same exact floor system applied here. I developed all these items with the style stored into that specific template, and also I used the same layer system that I defined previously. Here, if I click on the use layers, I actually used not that much of those layers, but actually I just simply used my template as the basis of this work here. A good example of using the PushPull tool is when you would like to detail the surrounding and you would like to either add new objects to an existing slab or a building part or something like that, or when you would like to completely model something new. Now, in this case, I would like to use the 3D shape and the PushPull tool to create a bench, which will be a combination of concrete and wood. And for that reason, I will first start placing a block to create one side of the bench, and then the wooden part, and then the other side of the bench. So I will just go and use this create shape by block, this one, and then I will define the size of the block. This size of the block will be something like 200 millimeters by 450, and the height should be 400 millimeters or so. And this will be the basic block that I'm starting to work with. And when I hit OK and I place it on the drawing, all I need to do is just to change it, change its material to have something like a concrete or so. And then I just search for it here, and I will find one that I have previously tested, and I think this will work fine with this one, and I will just replace it on this object. So this is what I start with. And then now the good thing with the PushPull is that whatever you draw on a surface, whichever projection, whichever side of that object should be, you can use it for the base operations of the push-pull. So what I will do, I will just go and use the polyline tool for the sake of its flexibility and simplicity. And then I just select the surface, and then I start drafting that shape from the bottom edge of this block that I've previously designed. So I click here and I try to find the edge someplace around here, and then I will add an arc and I will try to find some edge at the top, and then I will just bend it nicely to have a smooth result, something like this. And then I click here and then I set up this vertical part, which should be around something like 60 millimeters. That's where the wooden part will connect to. And then I just move the mouse horizontally and try to snap it with this other endpoint here. So this is where I ended up with the other point. And then I would like to place a curve here. So I will just move my mouse someplace around here and try to bend this part nicely, something similar to this. And then I will just find the bottom point, and that's it. I actually created this shape. Now I will use this shape as a basis for my operations. So I will just use the push-pull and I will click on the surface. And as you see, you can actually use it for partial push-pulls. You can just make a partial section like this to carve this into this concrete, or you can just completely make it longer, and then this push-pull will actually drill it through. So if I just undo this and then do it in one single step, I can just drill it through. I can just chop this part off, and then I will do the same thing with this one, and I will do the same thing with this tiny part. So if it's longer than the body, then it will actually chop it off like that. Now I'm satisfied with this result, and what I'm willing to do is to create another shape here, which will be based on this 3D shape tool. So I will just simply again go with the shape by block, and then I will design something similar to the previous one. So this should be, the width should be around like 680 millimeters. The depth should be, I believe it was 450 millimeters. And the height should be 60 millimeters. And so this is what I wanted to create. And before I go on, I would like to also change this wooden material to something else. And then I go to the libraries here, and I'm going to find something nice in the wood library here. And let's just go with the softwoods, for example, and try to find either this one. Let's just go and see whether this works. I think this is nice, but you can go around and try to find another one. So this is how you can easily find a new material and then create one wooden block or several wooden blocks also if you would like to, and then you can just place it someplace on your drawing. But now, well, actually I would like to align these two together. So I will, what I do, I just select this corner point and then I say I just would like to move this, and I would like to snap it to the previously created object like that. And so this is it. This is how you can end up with a half bench like this, and then the rest can be either modeled like this, or I also show you something, because if you would like to continuously reuse this thing, you can also save it as a part that can be reused either for this purpose here or for new benches. So what you can do in that case, something that has been modeled like this, you can either keep it or you can save it into the libraries, going into interior single object and create a new object. This will be this one single concrete bench part or something like that. And then it will go to my category, into the bench parts category that I've created previously. And I hit OK. And so now I have an object which is reset to the 0 now when it was created. But I just click on the bottom and I just snap it back to the ground, something like this. And then now I have this object. I just either make a copy and rotate it here, or I can just go back to the 2D, show it on the floor plan, and then just use a mirror or a mirror copy. Now in case of mirroring a copy, I will keep this part and I will use a vertical axis, finding the half division points of this edge and drawing a vertical axis. and then the software created the second half. So now when I go back here, now I can see this nicely designed concrete and wooden bench created from 3 different parts. And now if I would like to, I can still select those and I can save them as one single bench, and I still have the option to use the parts that I have partially created with the PushPull tool and with the combination of a single block. So this is how easily you can use the PushPull tool to create something like this. Let's see what you can do with the PushPull tool if you apply it on a wall surface or actually any sort of similar architectural part. The PushPull allows you to find edges and surfaces on a wall surface, for example, and then either partially push it or use it as a drill tool or make extensions to the surface. Now what you have here is a very simple wall. It's like 300 millimeter wide or so. And then it is just created with the simple wall tool. Now the extra thing that I have did, actually I used the line and the polyline tool to draw a pattern on it, and then I will use these contours to demonstrate the PushPull tool. So now the first thing that you can do with that is that actually you can just click on this PushPull tool and highlight any of those areas that you have created, and then you can just decide the depth of that push-pull, and if it's like, for example, 150 millimeters, which is the half of the width of this wall, then it will be just like a partial cut off or a pushed body part. And if you click on the top, for example, and you use it as a completely longer push like this, then it will actually chop that off, but still keeping the previous one in place. And then you can decide to, I don't know, make this one a little bit larger, like, I don't know, like 50 millimeter coming to the front. And then I will apply the same push-pull to the half division point here. And then I will just turn this and this and this into holes, like just click in here and drilling it through, click in here, drilling it through, and click in here and drilling it through. And then the very good thing with this one is that actually once you have something like this, this is part of the wall. So what I have now is kind of a parametric extension of this wall. So whenever I change, for example, the height of this wall, because I would like to make it a little bit smaller or higher or something like that. See, the complete thing was kept, only the top was chopped off because I made the wall actually smaller than the original was. But if I make it a little bit higher, and then because I modeled this part to be chopped off, the rest will be created again because it is above the contour that I have defined. So it will be kept with the wall, and if the same happens if you make the wall a little bit smaller, shorter or longer. So let me just try to change this to 2800 or something like that. In that case, the rest of the model here will be chopped off. And I can do the same thing here. Let's just make it to 2600 from the left hand side. And then see, now I still see those edges, but those are the lines that I've created, but the rest of the model was kept. So this is parametrically stored with the wall, which is a great advantage. Later you can just again use the push-pull tool or go into the details and change the settings of this geometry that you have created. And then if you remove those extra lines that you have added, then you will end up with a nice concrete sculpture or something like that. And similar to this, you can also create holes in walls or niches or something like that. So similar to this, what I've used here with this exterior example, you can use it also on interior wall surfaces or building facades and elevations. Linking external sources into your design is extremely useful when you're collaborating with other designers. And in my example, I will show you two separate situations. At first, I will show you a situation when I'm collaborating with a co-designer who is an architect and who is developing on the same project, who is developing this other part of this land, this location, which is quite empty at my drawing now. And all I'm interested in design is to develop this part of the project, but I would like to also see what he created and its full 3D glory with all the levels and everything else. So I would like to insert it into my project, and I would like to be able to track the changes that he makes on his design. So I will be able to make adjustments on my project as well if I realize something has changed. So to be able to do that, I need to use the file, and there's this command called link. And as you can see, you have an option to either use CAD files, IFC files, and Revit files. Now, for a fact, I know that what I have is an IFC file, so I just click on this one, and I will open up the IFC file that he has created for me. But before I do that, let me just show you the content of that. I actually have BIM viewer, an IFC file viewer, which I will open up, so you can see that this is actually the content of that IFC file. It's pretty simple yet, it's just in a conceptual phase, but I will be also already able to link it into the project, and once this file is changed, I will be able to track those changes. So let me just minimize that and open it up. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm just opening this file up, and then now I have two options. If this thing is some sort of an object, or I'm not interested in the levels of it, on the floors of the floor structure of this IFC file, I'm going to go with the first option. But now I would like to open the IFC file, importing all the floors and everything else, and then now I can see that I have the floors on the left hand side. This is the floor system of my project, and because we synchronized that together, he's also working on the same thing, and he actually saved his project with the same IFC floor structures, with all the same naming and all the same height. So this is what I can see. If I would like to, with this up and down button, I'm able to make a match between what is the first floor of my design and what is the first floor of his design. But I actually don't want to do that, so I'm just going to make sure that what is the ground floor in my project is the ground floor in his project. So this is what I'm going to do, and now I'm clicking OK and see what happens. Now in the next step, the software reads the content of his project, his IFC file, and then it is reading the content, and it shows me the option to place this project into the proper position. Now, if we would not synchronize the origin to the same location in the world, I would use manual placement. But because we did that, we are working in the same location, I will just use the automatic positioning and see if that works out well. And now I can see the content on the 2D. And if I jump from one floor to the other, up and down, I can see it's neatly organized, the proper floors with all the content. And I can also see the whole model in the 3D. I actually do not have the option to change any of those items because that belongs to another file, and I do not have the rights to modify it. Those are just read as supporting actors of this design. But whenever there is a change in this design, let me just kind of look around and see how it looks like now. So now I have a nice overview of this land. And as a fact, I know that he will further develop this conceptual model, adding up a little bit more of the details, and also extend it with a few more building parts. So this is what actually I have in another screen, so I can show you that this is how it will look like. This is how the project has changed by the time. And now I would like to synchronize those changes into my project, and this is actually what linking is good for. Now I'm able to update this content. So for being able to do that, all I need to do is to go to the file and link, and there's this manage links option, so I'm clicking on this one. And then I can see that there is this one specific single reference of this building, which I have quite a few options to work with. But now what I'm interested in is that I need to reload it. So whatever has changed, I would like to reread it into the project, and I will be able to see the changes. So I'm clicking on reload. It tells me that the status is now reload. So once I hit OK, it will reload the content again. And I have the option to change whatever I have chosen before. I'm not going to do that, so I'm keeping this option. And I also keep the same floor structure, so the two floors are matching, so I'm not changing anything with that. And I'm just hitting OK and see what the result will be. After a short while, I can see that this reference has changed, updated with the latest changes. And then I can reflect those changes if I need to in my design, or I can just make something that connects the two buildings or something like that. So really, this is very useful when we're working together. Perhaps someone else is developing the park here in a separate file and so on. So we can link our drawings into each other's projects using several different formats and update that content. Today I'm going to show you how you can create walls with automated tiling, which means when you create the wall, it will automatically generate the tiling as well according to your customized layout that you will create. And also those tilings will be able to reflect changes when you move around a door or window, or when you change the size. So now let's see an exterior example to that. There's the possibility in the software to create wall surfaces, wall structures together with tiling structures. Should that be an internal tiling or an external covering of the wall surface, perhaps stone panels or other sort of panels with supporting background framing. And now I'm going to show you how you can do that. Now let me show you first what we will create. I actually already have this structure, so I will just remove this one. And I will just use the wall tool from the building tool set, and I will just create that wall. I will just refer to this point because this is where I would like to place it, from this point to this point. So as you can see, in one step I could create the wall structure together with an extra layer that hosts the fastener, horizontal and vertical supporting framing, and also the panels. And we can see the panels also in the 3D. This is a detailed structure that you can easily tell if you hover over your mouse and see this blue highlight appearing. So let's see how this was created. Let me just go back to any of my previous views. And then let me just remove this for a short while, and let's just see how this is created. Now, there are two things that I need to take care of. One is the tiling and the other one is the wall. Now first, let me just show you how you can create a complex tiling system that is based on the background supporting framing and also featuring the surface panels that you just saw in the 3D. So now I'm going to go and find the tiling toolset here in the software, and I just click on the properties, and I will just select this, and let's just see how this was created. Now, for the sake of this demonstration, I have created something made of large brown panels, perhaps made of wooden or some sort of composite material. And also I have a horizontal bar system here, a vertical supporting system, and the fasteners. Those are all the things that you can see here. Let's just start from the outside. Now this one here, and for the sake of this demonstration, let me just disable the visibility of all of those, and let's just click on redraw so we can go from outside to the inside and understand how this works. Now this first layer here is made of this RAL 8007 foam brown material, which is a tiling actually, and it has a specific setting for this, which is the size of this material, and that is set up here with the width and the height. For this specific tiling, I use this size, but you can use any of your different settings if you want. And also you can just go with a rectangular tiling, but you can also use objects and so on, which I will talk about soon, because for the rest of the tiling details we are going to need it. So I actually created a thickness for this, and I removed this from the surface. I elevated it from the surface with the same thickness, so it's actually touching the surface, the original external surface of this wall. I also can create tiling grout if I want. Well, in this specific case, I don't want to see a grout appearing, but should that be any sort of small amount, like 1 millimeter or so, you can set it up here, and then you can update and you will see the changes here. Now this is all I needed for the distribution of the tiles. And this is what we can see here. And from the second point, what I've created is the horizontal bar system, the horizontal railing system, which actually supports these tiles. The tiles are kind of hanging on those railings. So let me just show you how that works. Now here I have something called uProfile horizontal. So when I click here, I can show you that this is actually an object that I have created previously. So just as I told you, you can tile with objects, and in this specific case we are using these objects for distributing those railing parts. Those objects are something that you can go into the libraries and select and change their width, the height and the depth of this object. And once you're done, you can set up the distribution rules, how they will be distributed here. Now, in this specific case, the tile grout is something similar, just as we talked about that before, but in this case, this is the distance between the horizontal bars, and as it was set to 0, there is no distance between the horizontal bars following each other. Now, the vertical distance here, we can say like that is the vertical centerline distance. It is set to the same pattern as the stone panel size, but it is shifted, and I will show you how you can shift that. But for this detail, this is enough. So we have the object, we have the tile grout, and we can also set up how it is shifted from the surface, either inside, inwards towards the building, which is a negative value, or you can set it up to 0, or a positive value, which is going to be an external direction. So this is it. I'm going to hit OK, and then set up the visibility of this one and click on redraw. So now we have this. What makes this bar appearing here exactly? That is actually something that you can find as the elevation. Now if the elevation is set to, let me just change it to 900 and click on redraw. See, it's going downwards. Let me just change it again so you can easily tell how that changes. See, it's going downwards, and so now it's measured from the bottom. So I have set up a value of 1000 because this is it should be 1000. So because this is where it should be, and then the software will solve the rest of the math. And then I'm going to set up the vertical profiles as well. Now, the vertical profiles are the ones behind these bars. So let me just go here and set up the properties of those. And this is what you can set up similar to the horizontals, but in this case you will perhaps select a different object. This is something called uProfile vertical, and it has its certain width and height, and also the depth. This is how it looks like. And in this specific case, I don't have the vertical tile grout set, which is actually 0. So that means they are on top of each other, following each other. Now there is another setting, which is the tile grout. Now this is, in this case, is the horizontal distance between the items. If that would be 0, they would completely snap to each other. But as it is set to a different value, they keep the distance here in the 3D and on the 2D layout as well. And also I have an option to set up the vertical, I mean the perpendicular distance towards the wall surface. So now this is going to be minus 50 millimeter towards to the internal structure. Okay, so let's just hit OK, hit turn on the visibility, redraw, and then now you may already think how I solved the situation of the fasteners. So I'm just going to turn on their visibility, so we can see that the only difference with these, between these and the railings themselves, that they are a different object. As you can see, this object is a fastener object that can be either modeled in the software or downloaded from some other place, and then the distribution rules are the same here. I did not set up anything different. There is a horizontal and the vertical distance, and I also have this grout depth enabled, which is shifting the object towards the wall surface, inwards the building, 100 millimeters. So this is how it is distributed. So this is it. And whatever I've created here, I can also shift on this layout. So let me show you. If I just select this vertical profile and I just zero this out and I just tell, okay, this is 0, redraw it, then it 100% falls to the left hand side of this surface. And if I type a different value like shift horizontal 200 and I click on redraw, then it will shift this structure completely with the rest of its distribution on this wall surface, and that 200 millimeters from the left hand side. Everything that you saw here is something that you can store in a style. This is what I've done. And this is a crucial point, because once you save this into a style, you will be able to select this as a property of a wall. So now it's important that I have saved this as a brown external panels. And then from that point on, I can go to the building. I can click here, right click here and property, and I can go here and set up the wall layers, create something for this decoration for the panels and the railing system as well. There's a layer, but this is not the one that is actually representing the tiling. The option that represents the tiling that I've created previously is this one. You can enable tiling on the interior side or the internal side and the exterior side as well by just simply enable or disable this option, and then you can select the proper tiling or the proper panel distribution that you have saved into a tiling style. And then once you are done with that, you can also, I'm sorry, I just forgot to show you that, you can also save this complete structure together with the compound wall settings and together with the tiling into a wall structure as well, which I did previously, and this is the name of it. It's a 380 millimeter external wall with panel covering. So this is what I did here. And in the end, this is how I create this wall surface. So let me just show you it again. I just click here and I just create the wall, and I have my style selected here with the proper settings. And then now what I need to do is just to start drawing this wall, creating it from one point to the other. And then now I have a complex wall structure with layers and also with tiling or panels inside or outside the building, whichever option will go the same way. Based on the current needs or the local regulations, you can decide in which detail level, which level of geometry you would like to represent your model in. And based on how many 3D views you have, you can actually make different level of geometry settings window by window, view by view. So let's see how that works. Now in my view 1, I use the default level of geometry setting, which is the documentation. Documentation is only one of those settings. You actually have by default 5 different level of geometry levels. The symbolic, the schematic, the detailed, the documentation, that is the default, and the construction. Now if I would like to, I can represent the same exact model in a different view with different level of geometry. So what I'm doing, I just organize this model. So now you can see I have one 3D window and one 2D window with the content of the 2D floor plan. And then now if I click here, I can create a second 2D window, a second 3D window. And here I can change the level of geometry to something, for example, like schematic. Once I do that, the software will update the 3D and it will eliminate all the details that are not necessary in the schematic default setting. And you will see that here there are less details, there are no doors and no windows, the walls and slabs are less detailed with no layers in them, and also the railings are disappeared. Let me just organize the content so that we can compare the two results. Here on the other side with the documentation level, I have everything that I've designed inside, all the railings, all the rafters and the layers of the walls, the proper connections between them, and many of the surrounding details that I have created and I have designed inside. So that's why the default is the documentation level, but I can decide it to make it simpler. And the reason could be several. So for example, if I'm communicating with another profession that does not need the fully detailed architectural model with all the layers, for example, I send over my model to an MEP designer, I can just get rid of the details that are not necessarily with the default setting, and I can just export it and send it over to the MEP designer. They can make the things that are their job, their task to do, and then they can send it over, and I can place it or link it into my model to the proper location. So this is how it goes if I have two different views with two different level of geometry. Now, whenever I click in the 2D and I update the 3D using the quick 3D model, and there are any other changes that are not represented in either of those windows yet, the software will update both of them with the proper level of geometry settings. Now, if I would like to, I can, however, customize this a little bit, or I can just have a quick overview of what sort of settings I have. So now here I can see that I have view 1 and I have view 2. View 1 is with the documentation settings, and view 2 is with the schematic setting. Now, if I click here, I can also detail whether I would like to see the detail layers, the wall framings, the tiles on the wall surfaces, the opening directions, and I can also select how I would like to represent the roof tiles. Now, as this is a schematic representation, I don't want to see any of those, but if I would like to, I can customize those a little bit. And also here, I can customize which floors I would like to actually see in the 3D, and also what sort of element types. There's an option to create your sections with the representation of textures and the lines all together. To be able to do that, all you need to do is to use the section tool. I'm going to go back to the ground floor of this building structure. It's actually a larger park with 2 or 4 buildings. I'm going to focus on this part, and I'm going to create a long intersection here. So I'm going to go to the section and section settings first. Now, in case of the section settings, you have this option to select the representation mode to be either vector drawing, that's the classic, only linear drawing. You can create a raster image version, and this is what I'm going to select now. And also you can set up the visual style. Now, in my case, the visual style will be consistent color with wireframe. I would like to represent all the textures in their original glory without any sort of shading. I'm going to select this one. And also I will represent the world in between the two endings of my section lines. I don't want to have an infinite section which intersects the whole world that I've designed around this. So I just enable that. And also there is the option to enable or disable the level annotation lines that are visible. So if you would like to represent those, you can enable that, and then you can also set up other settings. Now I'm going to focus only on those. So this is all I've changed here. This will be my AA section with the 2 numberings at the left and the right hand side. And then that's it. So I just click OK, and then I define the section line with the section tool. Now the section tool is pretty simple. All you need to do is just to set up the starting point of your section line, and then just move your mouse to the right hand side. Even you can hit and hold the shift key on your keyboard to lock onto the horizontal direction. This is what I do now. So when I click now, I can set up the direction of the section. This will be from the bottom. And then now the software generates this section. And as you can see, the section was created pretty quickly. And also what I told you, that you will see all the textures, even the intersected surfaces, and also the wall surface. Now it has a nice faint grainy texture on the surface. It's not pure white. It has some texture on it. And also in some cases I can also see the tiling and so on, and the structure of the concrete and so on. So now I have a combination in between the vector view with the pure clear lines and raster image version, which is a great starter to create this beautiful and detailed architectural sections. Now there is one thing that I want to create before I move on, and I focus on the other details, and that's the dimensions. I would like to add a few of those dimensions, at least a few of those elevations on the section, because yes, the software is actually measuring the distances in my case from the sea level, but I can also add my own measurements, and I can say that okay, for a purpose now, this is 0, and I also would like to measure this distance from the bottom, and I would like to place this measurement someplace here, and then I would like to measure the bottom of this ceiling, the top of this ceiling, I mean the floor level, and so on, and I just would like to add those extra dimensions all around. This is what I do now. So this is how you can add the details into that. This is a dynamic section. This is not a snapshot. This is in dynamic connection with the original content, so you can also modify content. So shall I realize that, for example, this wall should be moved to this position? All I can do is just to select it, move it, align it with the other one. I mean, again, hit shift to lock it horizontally. Then I can just snap it to the wall at the bottom, and then now it automatically changed the section with all the proper connections in 1 second, and I also have the proper 2D with those changes here. Now also I can remove parts that I don't want to see. For example, those are my building volumes back in the background, which I can hide several ways. I can also use the layer system, but I will show you another way that you can also do to remove unnecessary parts of your views. Now, a cool thing with this combined section is that you can actually change its visual style just as you would do with the editor mode in the perspectives, for example. And what you need to do as, for example, you can also turn on the shadows, and then now it is represented immediately because I have a few windows here I can clearly see. So now my whole building is in a shadow, but it already adds a little bit of depth because I can see that there are windows at the left hand side, and you can also customize it the way you want. You can switch it on or off, and you can document it this way. If you design buildings like this, for example, on the screen with along grid lines, then you're gonna love this feature that you can actually turn on or off the visibility of grid lines on sections and elevation views. Let me show you the section for this one. So I'm going to go to the settings of the section, and you can find that there is an option which is by default on, but if you want, you can turn it off, which is the enable grid lines. Now, if I'm going to create a very simple section, you will see what I'm talking about. I'm gonna keep it simple. 2 clicks at the 2 sides, and once it's done, you can see that the grid lines are there, and now I can start dressing up this section. Filters can be used in a very wide range of specific situations. For example, in this specific case, I would like to graphically override walls that are at least matching a certain total wall thickness. So what I'm going to do, I'm opening up the edit, and I click on select, and here I can find graphic overrides. And when I'm clicking here, the graphic override filter dialog comes up, and then I can select all the architectural items, and from that list I will enable walls, and I will look for the this is the total thickness, and I'm adding this to the filter list. Filters are automatically named as filters, filter 1, 2, 3. I can rename this if I would like to, and here I can say that, for example, the thickness that I'm going to use here is 0.3, so it's 300 millimeters. Now, if this would be the condition, the software would only select walls that equal to 0.3 meters and nothing else. Even if it's smaller or larger, nothing else would have been selected in that situation. So now what I will do, I click here and I select at least. So if a wall thickness, if a wall total thickness is at least 300 millimeters, then the software graphically overrides that, and I can see that clearly visualized with the override settings that I had before. Those override settings are here in the graphic override, and I can customize them. If I move my mouse here, there's this little pencil, and I can say that I would like to use a different color, different light type, different line weight, and so on. So using different settings, I can have a different color override on this drawing. But the main point here is that now I have graphically overridden all the items that are at least 300 millimeter wide in total thickness, and this is clearly visible on my drawing. Let's have a quick look at visibility filters. In this specific example, I would like to visualize this model in two different aspects. One, when I filter out a few things from the buildings and I don't want to see them. And in the other case, I will filter out the surrounding buildings. And for this, I will use two 3D views. Now, starting with this first 3D view, I'm going to the View menu and I click on Isolate, and I will find an option called Filter. So the rule-based filters work this way. You select the discipline, in this case this will be architectural items, and then this is a very simple example, so I'm just saying that I would like to see only the walls, only the slabs, the columns, the beams, and perhaps the roofs. And once I click here and I'm telling the software that all elements that match this criteria should be visible, so should be equal to the visibility. In that case, when I hit OK, then the software will make all the rest of the model disappear and make only those items visible which I have selected based on the rules that I have defined just before. Now let's see how this works in another 3D view. So I'm clicking on another Add 3D view. Let me just organize my drawing. So now you can see that I have one 3D view and a 2D view, so I'm adding another one. So into this 3D view, the software, when visualizes the model, it is unfiltered, so I can see everything that I have created before. But here, view dependent, I can select and I can set up a different rule if I would like to. So I can go again to Isolate and click on Filter. And now either I can click on this one and use this filter that I've used before, or I can create a completely new one, and this time I will also name it. I will just say, okay, this is the one that is called without surrounding buildings or something, buildings. And then once I name that, I can click here and I can say that, for example, here I would like to create a negative effect and have a negative visibility effect. I would like to make things disappear from the model, so I'm clicking here and I would like to say that all building volumes that are in this view should not be visible. So this is what happens now. So when I'm clicking OK, and the software makes those items disappear and none of the rest are invisible. All the rest is here just as I expected. So now there is also the need to be able to check what filters I have on the model. So if I would like to check what I used here, I can just click here and click on Isolate, opening the filter dialog, and I can see that this is enabled. I can even rename it. Let me just click here and I say that, for example, this should be the simple building, named simple building or so, and I click OK. So that's fine. I'm actually using that filter already here. And if I click here and I just open up this filter dialog again, I can see that here the without surrounding buildings is enabled. I can also switch to the other filter, or if I would like to, I can also remove the filters that I have here. And for that, I have a very simple option. If I click on the header of this 3D view and I select the clear filter, now the software visualizes the model unfiltered as it was created originally. Let's see how we can use the rule-based filters in case of selecting specific items. And I'm also going to combine a few conditions to tell the software that I'm very specifically looking for walls on the ground floor with a specific total thickness. So let's go to use the Edit menu and click on Select and click on Filter here. And I'm going to select the architectural items, walls, and I'm looking for items that are walls with the total thickness at least 30 centimeters or 300 millimeters. This is 0.3 meters here. And I will combine this filter condition with another one, and that is telling the software that I'm also interested in items that are on a specific floor, and that the floor value should equal to the ground floor. This is the ground floor of this building. So if all the conditions match, so the walls are actually, the items are actually walls with at least a total thickness of 300 millimeter, and at the same time they are on the ground floor, they should be selected, as we can see on the 2D and in the 3D appearing. The 3D connection device support is as easy as it could be. You only need to go to the 3dconnection.com website and download the latest device driver, and then all you need to do is just to install your device, plug it in via this USB cable, and then start the application, and then there you go, you can start working. Now let me just explain how this device works and talk about the other devices, because when I'm talking about the 3D connection device support, I'm not only talking about the 3D connection Space Mouse Enterprise that you can see on screen now. This is the 3D connection Space Mouse Enterprise. But I'm also talking about the other devices such as the CAD mouse, the Space Mouse, and also the smaller brother of this Space Mouse item here. Now with this one, with the Enterprise, you have quite a few buttons, so let me just quickly guide you through the layout of that. On the left hand side, right at the left of this sensor, you can find a dedicated buttons for navigation, like just as we could find them on a classic keyboard. That is Enter, Escape, Tabulator, Control, Shift, Alt and Space, and there is also a dedicated menu button which helps invoking the settings of this device. So there you can actually customize what happens when you push any of those buttons here. You actually don't have to do that because the software and the device is interconnected via the default settings. So once you install the latest driver, all buttons are already set for the application. But if you would like to, then of course you can do a customization. On the right hand side you can find a delete button. There are 3 dedicated buttons for quick saving and recalling 3D views. There are dedicated buttons for all sorts of specific isometric views like the top view, the front view, all sorts of side views. And also you can find the isometric view button, which helps you quickly going into an isometric or axonometric view once you are in a 3D perspective view perhaps. And also here at the bottom you can find the fit screen button, which helps you quickly finding the whole model. If you are zoomed into some place of your model and you push this fit screen, then the software will quickly show you the whole model. At the top of this device you can find an LCD screen. This is not a touch screen. It has actually dedicated function buttons here, 12 physical buttons you can find here, and there at the top there are the default 12 buttons for the application. The first one is layer walk, the second is quick 3D model, and the third is create similar. So when I'm pushing number 1, I'm actually starting the layer walk. This is also of course fully customizable. Now if I would like to navigate in the 3D model, I will use this central sensor. Now this central sensor is, first things first, very sensitive, so it's very easy to use, and also it has all sort of freedom when you are willing to navigate your model. Now you should imagine that this here, this central piece, is your model, so whatever you do with this one, it will happen with your model. So let me show you first a very simple thing. I will just move this little sensor along this horizontal plane, so I will just push it to the left, to the right, up or up and down, and this will result in zooming out, zooming in, moving to the left and moving to the right. I mean, when I'm talking about the model, this is how I can close up to the model, get away far from the model, and move to the left and move to the right. This is how I can navigate. Also, along this vertical axis, you can twist it. That means you can actually rotate your model to the left or to the right. And also, if you would like to, again, along this vertical axis, you can push it down and you can pull it up, which will result in a decreasing elevation or increasing elevation in the 3D space. And the great advantage of this tool that you can combine all these movements in one single go. So let me show you how this really works in the 3D space when I do these things also in the 3D space with a model. So let me show you how this works. Again, I will repeat the same movements that I did before, and I will just grab this little central sensor, and first what I will do, I will just pull it towards me. So this means, and I'm gently doing that, as you can see, it's very sensitive, so I can just nicely zoom in and zoom out when I'm pushing it away from me. So this way I can zoom in and zoom out of the model. Also, I can move the model to the left, move the model to the right, and as you can see with my other hand I can still move the mouse freely while I'm doing navigation, so I can do all sorts of selections and I can still work in the 3D space. So that's also an advantage, that while navigating in the 3D space I can also use my other hand for selection and working in the 3D space. Now if I'm rotating this, twisting this little sensor to the left, this is what happens. So I'm rotating the model to the left and I'm doing the same to the right. And also if I elevate this little sensor, I will decrease the elevation and I will increase the elevation in the 3D space. So I'm actually grabbing the model and pulling it up, pushing it down. And the great advantage of this, that I can actually combine all sorts of movements like this, and I can twist, zoom and move all at the same time, having very specific and very gentle movements in the 3D space and finding all sort of locations wherever I wanted to zoom into a very specific area of this 3D model. There is a default behavior that is also very useful if you have any sort of item in the 3D space. Like, let me just select this window. If I'm selecting that and I'm just twisting this this little sensor, I'm actually rotating or orbiting around that selected center piece. If I'm doing the same with another window or perhaps with this roof, then I'm actually orbiting around that specific item. So this sort of focus on the selected item works just fine. So this is how you can do that. Also, if you're far away from the model and you have selected something and you push the fit button, it will just quickly zoom into that item and you will be able to work with that quite easily. So this is how you can work with this tool. You can move the model up and down, left or right. You can zoom in, zoom out. You can move inside the model, and you can also rotate the view quite easily. So this is the 3D connection device support in ARCHLine.XP. And finally, let's say a few words about this device that you can see on screen, which is the 3D connection CAD mouse. Now this is a mouse designed for designers, for those who would like to use their mouses mainly for professional work in CAD and BIM environment. And as you can see, it is quite an ergonomic mouse with a good size and good quality materials. And also, as I mentioned, it also comes with dedicated buttons for CAD design. Now at this side of this mouse you can also already find 2 dedicated buttons for quick zoom in and out. And also this is something that you can fully customize for yourself, so you can also add the undo or redo buttons to these buttons. For example, if I rotate this mouse, you can see that it actually has 3 physical buttons. Now in case of a classical 2-button plus wheel mouse, you might pan the content pushing down the wheel, which of course works with this mouse as well, but for that you can also use this dedicated mouse button here, which is easier to push down and it's easier to handle. Now also the mouse wheel, as I mentioned, is a classic mouse wheel, but also if you flick this in supported applications, you can kind of have a free spin, which is like an endless zoom in or out, which is very handy when you scroll through large databases and large amount of text. Also, this mouse comes with a central kind of radial menu button, and if I push that, let's see, now here's my application with the mouse cursor here. So once I push this radial menu comes up with the dedicated commands of the application. So this means if I move the mouse up or left or right or down, I can start the layer walk, undo, redo or show on floor plan commands, and this menu can be also customized. So if I move my mouse up, then I can just start the layer walk command, just as you can see on screen now. So this is how you can use the CAD mouse, which is also supported in ARCHLine.XP. So this is it for today for the ARCHLine.XP 2021 new features. I hope you liked this content, and if you did, please give us a thumbs up, and we are looking forward to see you on our future shows. So see you next time.